In a learner-centered teaching, we may ask, what is a good teacher? How to be a good teacher? How to be a good learner? Two modes of teaching can be presented in this respect, and we also come across some issues of teaching in a class. A teacher can be information giver, and this is in a teacher-centered teaching. This mode of teaching fuselizes the learner's mind. A teacher can be a guide, can be a source, a monitor, an assessor, supervisor, because students need to know how to get information, how to create information, how to discover, how to search for information. This requires the teacher to avoid parroting. The measure of a good lesson is the student's activity taking place, not the performance of the teacher. Now, we come across some points, some ideas about how to be a good teacher. A good teacher masters the syllabus he teaches and be acquainted with its items. Is well prepared for his lesson, having reviewed his subject matter before the lesson. He has an empathized character with the students. For example, giving them simple smile while entering the class, saying hello, good morning. A good teacher is tolerant with his students. He does not insist on correcting mistakes, for example, especially those of pronunciation, which a student might find difficult to master. He is not so sensitive to their actions in the class. For example, if they laugh, he laughs with them quietly until he controls the situation. He knows how to control the class, the unstable students, the talkative ones, without offending them, because offending students can result in affective filter, and this can prevent learning. A good teacher distributes his questions in a class in a balanced way, to those in the front, to those in the back, to the clever students, to the low-level ones, to those who are active, to those who are solitary. He is careful. A good teacher is careful of his clothing, showing himself tidy. He doesn't kill the class time with extra subjects as those of politics, personal issues. A good teacher is a guide whenever his students need him to be, and he always enhances his students with hope for a thriving future. And this is a point in motivation. Now, how to be a good learner? A good learner is not born as a good learner, but we can make of him a good learner. This is the teacher's job, through motivation and discipline. Here are some features that describe a good learner. First, a central point in a good learner is that he loves to learn. He pays attention to his homework and gets it done. He attends to the teacher and his lesson. He tries to discover what is in his book, in his textbook, and refreshes his information. He sticks to his textbook and avoids others' summaries. He pays attention to the cleanness of his clothes, books, and his classroom. He respects his teacher and his colleagues and builds good bridges, good relations with them. He asks the teacher of the things or problems that are hard for him, that are difficult for him to solve, and consults his colleagues and parents for what he is reluctant with. He spends much time with his study than he spends with the social media, with watching movies, with chatting, playing games, which can waste most of his time and burdens him mentally. He is self-reliant, confident of himself and his abilities, and not to be desperate if he faces difficulties or a failure in his study. A next step, always a hope of success for him. Teacher-centered teaching may be associated with a set of problems, unlike learner-centered teaching. For example, students do not pay attention or they are not attracted to the lesson simply because the task is restricted to the teacher and the student easily becomes offline. Students sometimes do not participate because they depend on the teacher. They are dependent. The teacher is the only talkative agent in the class. So, positive attitudes are very important to build up motivation and self-confidence in the learner's mind. Otherwise, we get the affective filter, the breakout of learning. The affective filter theory states that successful second language acquisition depends on the learner's feelings. Negative attitudes, including lack of motivation or a lack of self-confidence, anxiety, are said to act as filter, preventing the learner from making use of input, making use of information, use of the lesson itself, and thus hindering success in language learning. Now, how to teach? What methods of teaching we are going to use in class? In this respect, we come across two basic methods relevant to the learner-centered learning: the communicative approach and the task-based language teaching. As for the communicative approach, one tenet of the communicative approach is that the syllabus should communicate the student's mind and relate the text to the student's background knowledge. In a communicative approach, students need to have a purpose for communication. Students need to have a desire to communicate something. Students need to focus on the content of what they are saying or writing, rather than focus on particular language form. Students should use a variety of language rather than just one language structure. The teacher may not intervene to stop language activity because the flow of communication, the flow of language is more important than correcting errors, for example. The second method of teaching is the task-based language teaching. And this is very central to the learner-based teaching. The focus of instruction in this method is on process rather than on product. Basic elements are purposeful activities and tasks that emphasize communication and meaning. Learners can learn language by interacting purposefully and communicatively while they are engaged in meaningful activities and tasks. Tasks and activities of a task-based syllabus can be sequenced according to difficulty. Activities and tasks can be either those that have a pedagogical purpose specific to the classroom, or those that learners may need to achieve in real life. The difficulty of task a task or tasks relies on a range of factors, including the complexity of the tasks, the previous experience of the learner, and the degree of support available. Here may present 5 types of tasks. The first is the jigsaw tasks. Second, information gaps, problem solving, decision making, and opinion exchange. We come across each one briefly. Jigsaw tasks. They involve learners who combine different pieces of information to form a whole, such that, for example, 3 individuals or groups to have different parts of a story and have to piece the story together. The second is the information gap tasks. One student or group of students may have one set of information, and another student or group of students can have a complementary set of information. They should negotiate and discover what the other party's information is in order to complete an activity. Problem-solving tasks. Number 3. Students should be given a problem and a set of information. They have to arrive at a solution to the problem. Number 4 is the opinion exchange. In pairs, students discuss ideas, give their opinions, and say if they have one or have used one. Students exchange ideas to find out if they have made the same predictions. If they have made different predictions, the teacher asks students to justify their opinions. Number 5 is decision making. Students discuss in pairs or groups the choice between 2 or more matters for a specific situation, giving reasons for their choice.